The boot connected with her face before she could blink. Blood sprayed across the mess hall floor. 2 teeth skidded across concrete like dropped coins. Her head snapped back so hard the crack echoed off the walls. "Get out of here, you little brat!" Sergeant Rawlings stood over her, laughing. His buddies high-fived behind him. 50 soldiers watched and said nothing. The small woman with gray hair and reading glasses lay in her own blood for 3 seconds. Then she did something no one expected. She picked up her teeth, wrapped them in a napkin, stood up, and smiled. What they didn't know what would destroy them all was that she was Master Chief Elena Mercer, SEAL Team 6 sniper, 23 confirmed kills, and she never missed a target. Before we reveal exactly how she destroyed them without ever raising her voice, drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and stay until the end. This one's going to leave you breathless. Now let's begin. The military transport touched down at 0347, and Elena Mercer was the last one off. She carried a single duffel bag, faded olive green, the name tape so worn you couldn't read it anymore. Her clothes were civilian. Khaki pants, a loose gray sweater, sensible walking shoes. Reading glasses hung from a chain around her neck. She looked like someone's aunt, someone's grandmother maybe. The kind of woman you'd see at a church potluck or a PTA meeting. The gate guard barely glanced at her credentials. Civilian consultant, marksmanship equipment evaluation, she said. Her voice was soft, almost apologetic. He waved her through without a second look. That was exactly what she wanted. Camp Obsidian sat in the Arizona desert like a scar on the landscape. Joint Special Operations Training Command. The place where Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, and Marine Scout snipers came to prove they were the best of the best. The place where, according to 3 classified reports, something had gone very wrong. Elena walked toward the administration building, and no one paid attention. A group of candidates jogged past their instructor screaming about weakness and failure. 2 sergeants leaned against a Humvee laughing about something crude. She absorbed it all. Every face, every name tape, every voice. 23 years of combat operations had taught her one thing. Above all others, the most dangerous position in any engagement wasn't the front line. It was the blind spot. And right now, she was invisible. So, the quarters they assigned her were an afterthought. A converted storage room at the end of a forgotten hallway. Single bed, metal desk, 1 window that didn't open. Elena didn't complain. She unpacked methodically. Clothes in the drawer, toiletries on the shelf, reading materials on the desk, marksmanship manuals, equipment specifications, nothing classified. Then she reached into the bottom of her duffel and pulled out a leather case. Inside, wrapped in oiled cloth, were the components of a custom rifle. Disassembled. Untraceable. Hers. She didn't need it. Probably wouldn't use it. But a sniper without her weapon was like a surgeon without hands. Some things you never left behind. Beneath the rifle case was a photograph in a simple frame. A man in dress whites, smiling. Strong jaw, kind eyes, the trident pin of a Navy SEAL on his chest. Chief Petty Officer Michael Mercer. Her husband. Killed in action, Kandahar Province, 2009. She touched the glass once, then set it face down in the drawer. Some things you carried. Others you buried. There was a knock at her door. Elena slid the drawer shut and opened it to find a young woman in army fatigues. Early 20s. Dark hair pulled back tight. Eyes that held too much for her age. "Ma'am, I'm Private First Class Torres. I've been assigned as your liaison during your evaluation period." "Torres." Elena stepped back, letting her in. "That's a lot of syllables for this time of morning." Maya, ma'am, if that's easier. Maya. Elena nodded. I'm Elena. No, ma'am, necessary. I'm just here to look at rifles. Maya Torres didn't believe that for a second. Elena could see it in the way her eyes moved, cataloging, assessing. This girl had instincts. I'll be in Barrack C if you need anything, Maya said. Orientation briefing is at 0800. I'll find my way. Maya hesitated at the door. Something unspoken passed between them. Ma'am Elena, there are some people here you might want to avoid. Such as Sergeant First Class Rawlings, Army Ranger. He runs the instructor cadre for the sniper qualification course. Maya's jaw tightened. He has opinions about certain people. What kind of opinions? The kind that leave bruises. Elena held the young woman's gaze for a long moment. Thank you for the warning, Maya. Just be careful. Please. The door closed, and Elena stood alone in the silence. So, Rawlings. She pulled a small notebook from her pocket and wrote the name down. First entry on what she suspected would become a very long list. The mess hall at 0630 was chaos. Candidates lined up like cattle instructors, moving between tables like sharks, everyone talking too loud about things that didn't matter. Elena got her tray powdered eggs, lukewarm coffee toast that could double as body armor, and found a corner seat with her back to the wall. Old habits. She ate slowly, watching. Rawlings wasn't hard to identify. He sat at the instructor table like a king holding court. Broad shoulders buzzed, head ajaw, that looked carved from granite. Two men flanked him, one with a shaved head and arms like tree trunks, the other younger, constantly chewing gum, always laughing a half-second too late at everything Rawlings said. Webb and Oates. She'd read their files, but it was Rawlings who held her attention, the way he surveyed the room, the way conversations died when he walked past, the way younger instructors deferred to him even though he wasn't the highest rank. This was a man who ruled through fear. She'd known men like him before, some in combat, some in corners of the military that didn't officially exist. They were always the same. Power built on intimidation. Authority enforced through violence. Control maintained by making everyone around them feel small. And they always had blind spots. Elena finished her coffee and carried her tray to the wash station. On her way, she passed the instructor table. Rawlings looked up. Their eyes met for exactly 1 second. She looked away first, dropped her gaze, hunched her shoulders slightly. Prey behavior. He dismissed her instantly and went back to his conversation. Perfect. The first 3 days established her pattern. Elena attended briefings, took notes, asked obvious questions that made the instructors roll their eyes. So this scope has variable magnification. Yes, ma'am, that's what variable means. Oh, of course. How silly of me. She fumbled with equipment, dropped a cleaning rod. Once she put a rifle stock against her shoulder wrong and pretended not to understand why the instructor was sighing. Word spread fast. The consultant's useless. Waste of taxpayer money. Some Pentagon desk jockey's pet project. She heard it all and absorbed every word. What they didn't see were her late-night sessions at the evaluation range. The way she could assemble that rifle blindfolded in under 90 seconds. The groupings she left on targets at distances these instructors couldn't even imagine. She made sure no one was watching, made sure the range logs showed only equipment testing with no recorded results. Ghosts didn't leave footprints, but she wasn't the only one watching. On the 4th morning, Elena noticed something. Maya Torres, her young liaison, was having trouble. The girl stood at the edge of the physical training area, running drills with the other candidates. Her form was excellent, better than most. Her times were competitive. But Rawlings had noticed her too, and not in a good way. "Torres, you call that a sprint?" Maya increased her pace. "My grandmother moves faster than that, and she's been dead for 10 years. The other candidates kept their heads down. No one met Maya's eyes. "Did you hear me, Torres?" "Yes, Sergeant." "Then why are you still disappointing me?" It went on like that for 20 minutes. Every exercise, every rep, every single thing Maya did was wrong, insufficient, embarrassing. Elena watched from the bleachers, her notebook open, pretending to write about equipment observations. What she was really writing was a timeline, dates and times of every interaction between Rawlings and Torres. A pattern was forming. After the session ended, Maya walked toward the water station. Rawlings intercepted her. Elena couldn't hear the words, but she didn't need to. She could read his body language, the way he leaned in too close, the way his hand gestured toward the barracks, the way Maya's shoulders crept up toward her ears. The girl was terrified, and she was trying very hard not to show it. When Rawlings finally walked away, Maya stood alone for a long moment. Her hands were shaking. Elena made a decision. She closed her notebook and walked toward the water station, arriving just as Maya was filling her canteen. "Good morning." Maya flinched. "Oh, Elena. Ma'am, I didn't see you." "Rough session. Nothing I can't handle." "I'm sure that's true." Elena filled her own bottle, moving slowly. "But sometimes the things we can handle alone are easier when we don't have to." Maya's eyes flickered. A question she didn't ask. "I'm here for a few more weeks," Elena continued. "If you ever want to talk about equipment or anything else, my door's open." The girl's face went through 3 emotions in 2 seconds. Hope, fear, caution. "Thank you, ma'am, but I'm fine." "Of course you are." Elena walked away, feeling Maya's eyes on her back. The girl wasn't ready to trust. Not yet. But seeds didn't grow overnight. Day 5 brought the first real test. Elena was walking toward the equipment shed when she heard voices around the corner. Male, aggressive, familiar. "Think you're special, Torres. Think being a girl gets you extra points. No, Sergeant. Then why the hell are you still in my program?" Elena stopped, pressed herself against the wall, listened. "I earned my spot, Sergeant, same as everyone else." A laugh. Rawlings. "You earned nothing. You're a quota, a checkbox, something they can put on a recruitment poster." "That's not..." "Did I ask for your opinion?" Silence. "You're going to wash out Torres. Not because you're not good enough, though you're not, but because I'm going to make sure of it. Every day, every drill, every evaluation. You understand me?" "Yes, Sergeant." "Good. Now get out of my sight before I decide to start early." Footsteps. Maya appeared around the corner, head down, moving fast. She almost collided with Elena. "Oh, I'm sorry, It's all right." Elena steadied her with one hand. "Are you okay?" Maya's eyes were wet. She blinked it away fast. "Fine. I'm fine. Just clumsy." "Maya." The girl looked up. "You're not a quota. You're not a checkbox. And anyone who says otherwise is afraid of what you represent." Maya stared at her. "How do you know?" "Because I've been where you are, a long time ago, and I remember every single face of every single man who tried to break me." Something shifted in Maya's expression. The first crack in the wall. "Did they succeed?" Elena smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "No, they didn't." She squeezed Maya's shoulder once, then walked away. Behind her, Maya Torres stood a little straighter. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She sat on her bed, the photograph of Michael in her hands, and let herself remember. 1997. Badass training. The first woman to ever make it past Hell Week. They hadn't wanted her there. The instructors. The other candidates. The entire chain of command. She'd been pushed, punched, held underwater accidentally, struck during exercises. Her gear disappeared. Her rack was soaked every morning. Someone put glass in her boots. She never reported it, never complained, never showed them anything but the same calm, focused determination that had gotten her through a childhood of poverty and violence, and eventually they stopped trying to break her. Not because they accepted her, because they realized they couldn't. The day she earned her trident, no one shook her hand. No one congratulated her. She stood alone at the ceremony while her class celebrated around her. Michael found her afterward. He was 2 classes behind, just starting his own journey. "You know they're never going to make it easy," he said. "I know. So why do it?" She'd thought about that question for a long time. "Because if I quit, they win. And if I stay, maybe the next woman won't have to fight so hard." Michael had smiled. "That's either the bravest thing I've ever heard or the craziest." "Maybe both." "Maybe both," he agreed. They were married 3 years later, and 11 years after that she buried him at Arlington with full honors. Elena set the photograph down. The next woman, Maya Torres. She wasn't going to let Rawlings destroy that girl, not without a fight. Day 6. The mess hall. Show 642. Elena got her breakfast and headed for her usual corner table. The room was crowded, loud, chaotic, the normal controlled mayhem of a military training facility. She was halfway across the floor when she saw Rawlings. He was standing near the coffee station talking to Webb and Oates. Maya Torres was at a table nearby, head down, eating quickly. Rawlings said something. Webb laughed. Oates glanced toward Maya. They were planning something. Elena changed direction, walked toward the coffee station instead of her corner. She saw Maya look up, see Rawlings approaching, and freeze. The girl's face went white. Elena moved faster. Rawlings reached Maya's table just as Elena reached the coffee station. "Torres, we need to talk about your performance yesterday." Yes, Sergeant. "Outside, now." Maya started to stand. Elena picked up her coffee cup, turned, and walked directly into Rawlings's path. The collision was perfect. Her timing was flawless. The cup hit his chest lid, popping off hot coffee spreading across his immaculate uniform. "Oh my God!" Elena stumbled backward, hands flying to her mouth. "I'm so sorry I didn't see you. I'm so clumsy. Let me—" Rawlings looked down at his coffee-soaked chest, then up at her. His face went from surprise to annoyance to something much darker. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Elena reached for napkins, fumbling, dropping them, the perfect picture of incompetent civilian panic. "Get away from me. I just wanted to help. I said get away." His hand shot out, not a punch, a shove, hard enough to send her stumbling backward. Elena let herself fall, hit the ground, looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. The mess hall went quiet. Rawlings stood over her, breathing hard, fists clenched. Webb and Oates flanked him, uncertain, waiting for his lead. "Get out of here," Rawlings said. His voice was low, dangerous. "You little brat." Elena scrambled to her feet, still apologizing, still playing the terrified civilian. And that's when Oates kicked her. Later she would think about that moment. The way he moved, impulsive, angry, trying to impress his boss. The way his boot connected with her face, too high, too hard. The way her head snapped back and the world went white. She hit the ground again. Tasted blood. Felt something hard and sharp in her mouth, pieces of teeth broken loose from her jaw. For 3 seconds, the mess hall was absolutely silent. Then Rawlings laughed. Jesus, Oates. Little extreme, don't you think? She was... I thought, relax, it's fine. Rawlings looked down at Elena crumpled on the floor, blood dripping from her mouth. Get up, consultant. Show's over. Elena didn't move. She lay there breathing slowly, letting the pain wash through her. Her tongue found the gaps where 2 teeth had been. Her lip was already swelling. She could end this right now. One move. She could have Oates on the ground with a broken arm before anyone else reacted. Could take Webb, next throat strike, knee to the groin, he'd go down screaming. Rawlings was bigger, but she knew 7 different ways to kill a man his size with her bare hands. She could end this, but that wasn't why she was here. Elena reached up, touched her mouth, and pulled her fingers away red. Then she did something none of them expected. She collected her teeth, picked them up from the concrete floor one by one, calm and methodical, wrapped them in a napkin from the dispenser, and stood up. No tears, no screaming, no threats. She just looked at Rawlings with those calm, steady eyes, and walked away. The medical office was quiet. The corpsman on duty, Petty Officer Chen, took one look at Elena's face and guided her to an examination chair without a word. How bad? She asked. I've had worse. Chen didn't ask what that meant. He cleaned the wound, assessed the damage, made notes. 2 teeth lost, lower bicuspids. Lip laceration probably needs stitches. Possible hairline fracture of the jaw will need imaging to confirm. No imaging. Ma'am, just document what you can see. Photographs, measurements, time and date. Chen hesitated. Are you going to report this? Elena considered the question. In any other circumstance, the answer would be yes. 3 military personnel had just assaulted a civilian contractor. There were 50 witnesses. The evidence was literally bleeding down her chin. But Elena hadn't spent 23 years in special operations by being obvious. I want it logged, she said. Medical record only. No incident report. Ma'am, regulations require... I'm aware of regulations. She met his eyes. I'm also aware that incident reports go through the commanding officer, who signs off on instructor assignments, who approved Rawlings' position here. Chen's expression shifted. Understanding. You think it goes higher than him. I think 3 men don't assault someone in broad daylight unless they're very confident nothing will happen. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Medical record only, but I'm putting everything in there. Photographs, measurements, my professional assessment of the injury mechanism. That's all I need. He worked in silence for the next 20 minutes. When he was done, Elena had 4 stitches in her lip, a prescription for antibiotics she wouldn't fill, and a comprehensive medical file that documented everything. Evidence. The first piece of a puzzle she was only beginning to understand. Word spread fast. By nightfall, everyone at Camp Obsidian knew that the civilian consultant had gotten her teeth kicked out in the mess hall. The versions varied. She attacked Rawlings first. She was drunk. She said something about his mother. I heard she threatened him with a lawsuit. None of it was true, but truth had never mattered in places like this. What mattered was power. Who had it? Who didn't? Who was protected? Elena stayed in her quarters and let the rumors run their course. She had work to do. Her laptop connected to a secure server through channels that didn't officially exist. She pulled up personnel files, training records, evaluation reports. Rawlings had been at Camp Obsidian for 3 years. In that time, the washout rate for female candidates had increased by 340%. Coincidence, according to official reports. Elena dug deeper. 3 candidates had filed complaints. All 3 had been transferred before their complaints were processed. 2 had left the military entirely. One had attempted suicide. That one caught her attention. Private First Class Rebecca Okonkwo, age 22, Army sniper candidate, top marks in preliminary evaluations, washed out after 4 weeks at Camp Obsidian. 3 months later, she was found in her apartment with empty pill bottles beside her. She survived. Barely. Her medical records included a psychological evaluation. One phrase jumped out: patient expressed feelings of helplessness regarding incidents she was unable to report due to fear of retaliation from superior officers. Elena closed the file. She thought about Maya Torres, about the fear in her eyes, about what Rawlings had said to her behind the equipment shed. You're going to wash out Torres. Not because you're not good enough, but because I'm going to make sure of it. How many others, how many women had walked into this program with dreams of serving their country only to be systematically destroyed by men who saw them as threats? Elena looked at Michael's photograph. I know what you'd say, she murmured. You'd say, be careful. You'd say, don't do anything stupid. The photograph didn't answer. But you'd also say that some fights are worth having, even when they cost everything. She closed her laptop and lay down on the narrow bed. Tomorrow she would begin building her case. Tonight, she would let them think they'd won. The next morning, Elena appeared at breakfast with her face still swollen, stitches visible, the gaps in her teeth, obvious when she spoke. She got her tray, found her corner table, ate alone. The whispers followed her everywhere. Can't believe she's still here. I would have transferred already. Did you see her face? Oates really messed her up? At the instructor table, Rawlings was laughing, louder than usual, making sure everyone could hear. And she just lay there, picked up her teeth like pocket change. Webb and Oates laughed with him. Other instructors joined in, some reluctantly, some enthusiastically. The pack mentality in action. Elena finished her breakfast and stood to leave. As she passed the instructor table, Rawlings called out, "Hey, consultant." She stopped, turned. No hard feelings, right? Just a little accident. 50 people watched, waiting. Elena looked at him. Her face showed nothing. No anger, no fear, no hint of what was churning beneath the surface. Accidents happen, she said softly. Rawlings grinned. See, she gets it. No harm done. Elena nodded once and walked away. Behind her, Rawlings was still laughing. He didn't notice that she'd never agreed with him. He didn't notice the way her hands, hidden at her sides, had curled into fists. And he definitely didn't notice the small, knowing smile that crossed her lips the moment she was out of sight. No harm done? She was just getting started. That afternoon, Elena found Maya Torres in the library. The girl was hunched over a manual highlighting passages with intense concentration. She looked up when Elena sat down across from her. Oh, Elena, how are you feeling? I've been better. Elena touched her swollen lip. I've also been worse. Maya's eyes dropped. I saw what happened. In the mess hall. I should have what intervened against 3 instructors. I don't know. Something. Elena leaned forward. Maya, listen to me. What happened in that mess hall wasn't your fault. And what's happening to you, the harassment, the targeting, the impossible standards, that isn't your fault either. Maya's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. How do you know about? Because I've been watching. Because I was you once. And because I'm not just here to evaluate equipment. The words hung in the air. Maya stared at her, processing. Who are you? Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a coin. Bronze and gold about the size of a silver dollar. She set it on the table between them. Maya picked it up. turned it over. Her eyes went wide. The SEAL trident. The words United States Navy and Special Warfare circled the edge. "You're 23 years, Elena said quietly. 12 deployments. Things I'll never be able to talk about. And I'm here because someone at SOCOM read the reports about what's happening at this facility and decided it was time to do something about it." Maya's hands were shaking. "Rawlings. I know. I know. There was a girl before me, Rebecca. I know about Rebecca, too." Maya looked at the coin in her hands, then at Elena's battered face, then back at the coin. "You let them do this to you, on purpose. I needed them to show me who they really are, and I needed documented evidence of what they're willing to do. But your teeth will grow back, metaphorically speaking." Elena almost smiled. "The point is, I'm not here to file reports that disappear into someone's desk drawer. I'm here to end this, but I need your help." "My help? You're the target right now. If I'm going to take Rawlings down, I need to know everything, every incident, every threat, every moment when he made you feel like you didn't belong." Maya was silent for a long time. Then she set the coin down and looked Elena directly in the eyes. "Where do you want me to start?" They talked for 3 hours. Maya told her everything. The late-night counseling sessions, where Rawlings reminded her that women didn't belong in special operations. The evaluation scores that mysteriously dropped after she outperformed male candidates. The rumors he spread about her being promoted because of her appearance. The time Webb cornered her in the equipment shed and she'd had to fight him off. The time Oates accidentally discharged a weapon in her direction during a training exercise. The time Rawlings told her in front of 20 witnesses that she'd be more useful on her back than on her belly behind a rifle. Elena wrote it all down. Names, dates, times, witnesses. A pattern. Clear and damning. "Why didn't you report it?" Elena asked. Maya laughed bitterly. "To who the commanding officer plays golf with Rawlings every weekend. The Inspector General's office is 3 states away, and the last woman who complained got transferred to Alaska before her paperwork was even processed." Rebecca. Maya's voice cracked. "She was my friend, my roommate during the first week. She was so good, Elena. Better than me. Better than most of the men. And they destroyed her." "Not they. Him. Rawlings. He's the head of the snake. And you're going to cut it off." Elena looked at the young woman across from her, saw the hope warring with the fear. The desperation underneath the strength. "I'm going to do more than that," she said. "I'm going to make sure another snake never grows in its place." Maya was quiet. "Then, what do you need me to do?" "Right now, nothing. Keep your head down. Survive the next week. And trust me." "Trust you." Maya picked up the challenge coin again, running her thumb over the trident. "You know what Rawlings calls you behind your back?" "I can imagine. He calls you the ghost, because you're so quiet, so invisible. He says you're already dead, you just don't know it yet." Elena stood up, tucking her notebook into her pocket. "He's right about one thing," she said. "I am a ghost." She walked toward the door, then paused. "But ghosts have a funny habit of showing up when you least expect them." That night, Elena did something she hadn't done in years. She called her daughter. The phone rang 4 times before Sarah picked up. "Mom." "Hi, baby." Silence. Then, "It's 2 in the morning. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I just wanted to hear your voice." More silence. The weight of all the things they'd never said to each other. "Where are you?" "Arizona, work thing." "You said you were retired." I said I was done with combat operations. There's a difference. Sarah sighed. The same sigh she'd inherited from her father. Are you in danger? Elena looked at her reflection in the dark window. Swollen face, missing teeth, stitches holding her lip together. No more than usual. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. Another pause. Mom, why did you really call? Elena closed her eyes, thought about all the birthdays she'd missed, all the school plays and graduations and moments that had slipped away while she was on the other side of the world doing things her daughter would never understand. Because I'm about to do something, she said finally. Something that matters. And I wanted you to know that everything I've ever done, every mission, every sacrifice, every choice that took me away from you, it was always about making the world a little bit safer for people like you. Sarah was quiet for a long time. You know I never doubted that, right? I wished you'd been there. I know. I wish that too. Be careful, Mom. I always am? No, you're not. But I love you anyway. Elena smiled, and it hurt. I love you too, baby. I'll call you when it's over. She hung up before either of them could cry. Then she turned back to her laptop, back to the files, back to the work. The sniper qualification finals were in 5 days, and Elena Mercer had a lot of preparing to do. The next morning, she requested a meeting with Colonel Reeves. The base commander's office was exactly what she expected, wood-paneling American flag photographs of handshakes with important people. Reeves himself was mid-50s career Army, the kind of man who'd risen through politics as much as performance. Ms. Mercer. He didn't offer his hand. I heard about your accident. Word travels fast. It's a small base. He gestured to a chair. What can I do for you? Elena remained standing. I'd like to request authorization to participate in the sniper qualification finals. As an evaluator. Reeves' eyebrows rose. You're a civilian consultant. Your role is equipment assessment. My role is whatever SOCOM tells you it is. Elena pulled a folded paper from her pocket. Authorization from Admiral Chen. Effective immediately. Reeves took the paper. Read it. His face went through several emotions before settling on careful neutrality. I see. The Admiral has concerns about training standards at this facility. He'd like an independent assessment of instructor capabilities. I'm qualified to provide that assessment. And if I object, then you can take it up with Admiral Chen directly. Though I should mention that he's already scheduled a call with the Secretary of the Navy for next week. Something about congressional oversight of special operations training facilities. Reeves stared at her. She stared back. Ms. Mercer. Master Chief Mercer. If we're being formal. The temperature in the room dropped several degrees. Master Chief, I don't know what you think you're going to accomplish here, but I assure you, what I'm going to accomplish, Elena interrupted, is a thorough evaluation of your sniper program. If everything is in order, you have nothing to worry about. If it's not... She let the sentence hang. Reeves's jaw tightened. The finals are in 5 days. I know. Rawlings runs the qualification course. I know that too. They stared at each other for a long moment, two predators sizing each other up. Finally, Reeves nodded. Fine. You want to evaluate. But when this is over and you find nothing, I expect a full report clearing this facility of any wrongdoing. If I find nothing, Elena said, you'll get exactly that. She turned and walked out without waiting to be dismissed. Behind her, she heard Reeves pick up his phone. Get me Rawlings. Now. Elena smiled. The game was officially in motion. Word of her new authority spread even faster than the rumors about her assault. By lunchtime, Elena could feel the change in how people looked at her. Not fear. Not yet. But uncertainty. Curiosity. The dawning realization that maybe, just maybe, the quiet woman with the missing teeth wasn't what she appeared to be. Rawlings found her in the equipment shed that afternoon. He walked in alone, closing the door behind him. His face was a mask of controlled anger. "Master Chief." "Sergeant." "I hear you've been talking to the Colonel." "I have." "I also hear you've been given authority to evaluate my program." "I have." He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell the coffee on his breath. "Listen to me carefully," he said, voice low. "I don't know what game you're playing. I don't know who you think you are. But this is my base, my program, my territory. And whatever you think you're going to find, you're not." Elena looked up at him. He had 6 inches and 80 pounds on her. In another context, he might have been intimidating. "You kicked out my teeth," she said quietly. "That was Oates. Who works for you? Who follows your orders? Who wouldn't have touched me if you hadn't made it clear that I was a target?" Rawlings' eye twitched. "I could end your career," Elena continued. "Right now. I have documentation, witnesses, a medical report that would make any JAG officer salivate. But I'm not going to do that. No. No. Because ending your career isn't enough. I want to end what you represent. The system that protects men like you. The culture that turns the other way when women get destroyed for daring to be excellent." She stepped closer to him, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. 5 days, Sergeant. That's how long you have to enjoy your authority, your power, your comfortable little kingdom where no one questions what you do to the people under your command. Is that a threat? It's a promise. She smiled, and the gaps in her teeth made it something terrible. From one predator to another. She walked past him, shoulder-brushing his arm, and out into the sunlight. Behind her, Rawlings stood frozen. For the first time in his career, he didn't know what to do next. And that uncertainty. That was exactly where she wanted him. Rawlings didn't sleep that night. Elena knew because she watched his barracks window from across the compound. The light stayed on until 300, then off, then on again at 04:15. He was rattled. Good. The next 4 days would determine everything. She needed him off balance, paranoid, making mistakes. Men like Rawlings always made mistakes when they felt their power slipping. She just had to be patient enough to catch them. The morning briefing brought the first surprise. Colonel Reeves announced a modification to the qualification schedule. All instructors would now be required to demonstrate their own proficiency before evaluating candidates. "Standard verification protocol," Reeves said, not looking at Elena. Nothing unusual. But it was unusual. It had never been done before at Camp Obsidian, and every instructor in the room knew exactly why it was happening now. Rawlings sat rigid in his chair, jaw clenched so tight Elena could see the muscle jumping. Webb leaned over and whispered something. Rawlings shook his head once, sharp. After the briefing, Elena found Maya waiting outside. "Did you do that?" Maya asked. "The instructor verification. I suggested it might be appropriate." Rawlings looked like he was going to explode. "That's the idea." Maya fell into step beside her as they walked toward the training facility. "Elena, what happens if this doesn't work? What if Reeves protects him? What if they just transfer you out like they did with Rebecca?" Elena stopped walking. "Maya, look at me." The young woman met her eyes. "I've spent 23 years in places where failure meant death. Not career damage, not embarrassment. Death. Mine and the people depending on me." She put a hand on Maya's shoulder. "I don't fail. Not when it matters. And this matters." Maya nodded slowly. "What do you need me to do?" The same thing I told you before. Survive. Keep your head down. And when the qualification finals come, shoot like your life depends on it. Because it does. Elena squeezed her shoulder. Because it does. That afternoon, Elena conducted her first official evaluation. She started with the equipment rifles, scopes, ammunition range, calibration tools. Everything was documented, photographed, cataloged. On the surface, it looked like bureaucratic busywork. But Elena wasn't looking at equipment. She was looking at records. Training logs that showed impossible improvement curves for certain candidates and suspicious decline patterns for others. Ammunition counts that didn't match requisition forms. Evaluation scores that had been modified after initial submission. Someone had been cooking the books. And the timestamps showed that most of the modifications came from a single terminal, Rawlings' office computer. Elena copied the files to an encrypted drive and kept working. The second day brought confrontation. Elena was reviewing range camera footage when Webb walked into the evaluation office. He didn't knock. The sergeant wants to see you. Does he? Now. Elena saved her work and stood. Lead the way. Webb walked her across the compound to the instructor office. Inside, Rawlings sat behind his desk like a king on a throne. Oates stood by the window, arms crossed. The door closed behind her. Master Chief, Rawlings gestured to a chair. Sit. Elena remained standing. I'll make this quick, Rawlings continued. I've been doing some research, made some calls, talked to people who knew you back in the day. I'm sure you did. Interesting things came up. Your combat record is impressive. 23 confirmed kills, 2 Bronze Stars, the longest female sniper shot in military history. You have good sources. I also found out about your husband. Rawlings leaned forward. Michael Mercer, Chief Petty Officer, killed in Kandahar. Ambush. IED followed by small arms fire. Messy way to go. Elena's face didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Careful, Sergeant. I'm just saying, that must have been hard, losing him like that, coming home to raise a daughter alone, watching your career stall while younger operators got the glory missions. Is there a point to this? The point is that I understand you, Master Chief, better than you think. Rawlings walked around the desk. You're here because you're angry, because you think the system failed you. Because you want someone to pay for all the years you spent being overlooked and undervalued. He stopped directly in front of her. But I'm not your enemy. The men who killed your husband, they're your enemy. The politicians who sent him into that ambush without proper support, they're your enemy. I'm just a guy trying to train the next generation of warriors. Elena looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. You know what's interesting about snipers, Sergeant? What's that? We're trained to identify high-value targets, to study them, understand their patterns, their weaknesses, their pressure points. She stepped closer, and in 23 years I've never once confused a target with a friend. She walked past him, opened the door, and paused. My husband died serving his country. Don't you ever use his name to manipulate me again. The door closed. Rawlings stood frozen. Webb and Oates exchanged glances. What do we do? Oates asked. Rawlings didn't answer. He was staring at the closed door, and for the first time in years he felt something he thought he'd forgotten. Fear. That night, Elena found something in the files that changed everything. She'd been cross-referencing training records with medical reports when a name jumped out at her. Private First Class Thomas Rawlings, Derek Rawlings' younger brother. The file showed he'd been a candidate at Camp Obsidian 4 years ago. Sniper qualification course. Excellent preliminary scores. Then suddenly nothing. Washed out in week 3. Medical discharge. Reason psychological unfitness. Elena dug deeper. The medical report was sparse, but the details were damning. Thomas Rawlings had suffered a breakdown during a high-stress evaluation, accused his instructors of sabotage, claimed they'd rigged his equipment to make him fail. The investigating officer had dismissed it as paranoid delusion. The investigating officer was Colonel Reeves. Elena sat back. Derek Rawlings' brother had washed out of the same program Derek now ran. Accused of the same tactics Derek now used against female candidates, dismissed by the same commanding officer who now protected Derek. This wasn't just about misogyny. This was about revenge. Derek Rawlings wasn't just destroying women who threatened his authority. He was recreating what had been done to his brother, making others suffer the way Thomas had suffered. It didn't excuse anything, but it explained a lot. Elena saved the file and started writing a new section of her report. The third day brought the first crack in Rawlings's armor. Morning physical training. Elena watched from the sidelines as candidates ran circuits. Maya was performing well. Better than well. She'd taken Elena's advice to heart and was pushing herself harder than ever. Rawlings noticed. He walked over to Maya's station clipboard in hand. "Torres, your form is sloppy." "Sergeant, did I stutter sloppy? Do it again." Maya reset and performed the exercise again. Perfect form. Elena could see it from 50 yards away. "Still sloppy. Again." Maya's jaw tightened, but she reset. "Sloppy. Again." This time Maya didn't move. "Did you hear me, Torres? I heard you, Sergeant." "Then why aren't you moving?" Maya looked up at him. Something had changed in her eyes. "Because my form isn't sloppy. It's textbook perfect, and we both know it." The training yard went quiet. Rawlings stared at her, his face reddened. "What did you just say to me?" "I said my form is perfect, sir." "Are you questioning my evaluation?" "I'm stating a fact, sir." Rawlings stepped closer. His hand moved toward her shoulder. "Master Chief Mercer." Everyone turned. Elena was walking across the yard, her pace unhurried. "I'd like to review the video of Private Torres's exercise for my evaluation records." Rawlings's hand stopped. "Video. The range cameras. They capture all training areas." Elena smiled pleasantly. "Standard documentation protocol, as I'm sure you know." The moment stretched. Rawlings stepped back from Maya. "We're done here, Torres. Move to the next station." Maya moved, but as she passed Elena, their eyes met. A nod, barely visible. The first victory. Small but significant. The third night, Elena had a visitor. A knock at her door soft past midnight. She opened it to find Sergeant Major William Cross, the retired maintenance supervisor she'd noticed watching her at the range. "May I come in?" She stepped aside. Cross was 67, weathered with hands that had clearly spent decades around weapons. He walked with a slight limp legacy of some old injury. "I know who you are," he said without preamble. "Recognized your shooting style the first night I saw you at the range." "Did you?" "I was at Coronado in '94. Watched a young woman put 10 rounds through the same hole at 800 meters. Never seen anything like it before or since." And he met her eyes. "Until now." Elena gestured to a chair. Cross sat. "You knew my husband," she said. It wasn't a question. "Served with him twice. Good man. Good operator." Cross paused. "He talked about you sometimes. Said you were the best shooter he'd ever seen. Said it drove him crazy that you were better than him." Elena's throat tightened. "Why are you here, Sergeant Major?" "Because I've been watching what's happening at this facility for 3 years. Because I've seen good people destroyed by men who should have been drummed out long ago. Because I'm too old and too tired to do anything about it myself." He leaned forward. "But you're not." "What do you know?" I know Rawlings has been falsifying records since he got here. I know he's washed out 11 female candidates using the same tactics. I know Reeves is covering for him because Rawlings has something on him. Something from their deployment together in Iraq. Do you have proof? I have this. Cross pulled a USB drive from his pocket. Audio recordings, 3 years worth. Conversations I wasn't supposed to hear. Meetings I wasn't supposed to know about. Elena took the drive. Why didn't you come forward before? Because I'm a 70-year-old maintenance worker who no one would believe. Because the last person who tried to expose Rawlings ended up in a psychiatric ward. Because I needed someone with enough rank and enough evidence to make it stick. He stood. You're that person, Master Chief. I've been waiting 3 years for you. Elena looked at the drive in her hand. Thank you. Cross walked to the door, then paused. Your husband used to say that the best snipers weren't the ones with the steadiest hands. They were the ones who knew when to pull the trigger and when to wait. He was right. Then I hope you know when the right time is. Because if you miss this shot, there won't be another one. He left. Elena plugged the drive into her laptop and started listening. The recordings were everything she needed, and worse. Rawlings discussing with Webb how to break a female candidate during Hell Week. Oates bragging about the accidents he'd arranged during training exercises. Reeves' voice unmistakable telling Rawlings to handle the situation after a candidate filed a complaint, and one conversation that made Elena's blood run cold. Rawlings and Reeves alone discussing what happened to Rebecca Okonkwo. She's going to talk, Rawlings said. Then make sure she doesn't. How far do you want me to go? A pause. Then Reeves, as far as necessary. 2 weeks later, Rebecca had tried to kill herself. Elena stopped the recording. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage. These men had driven a young woman to suicide, deliberately, systematically, and they'd covered it up. She thought about Maya, about the fear in her eyes, about how close she'd been to the same fate. The qualification finals were in 2 days. Elena had everything she needed to destroy Rawlings. But destruction wasn't enough anymore. She wanted justice. The 4th day, everything accelerated. Elena submitted a preliminary report to Admiral Chen, encrypted, eyes only. The response came within hours. Proceed as planned, support en route. She didn't know what support meant. She didn't ask. At the range that afternoon, she watched Rawlings run candidates through marksmanship drills. His demeanor had changed. Sharper, more aggressive. The confidence was still there, but underneath it, something was fraying. He knew something was coming. He just didn't know what. Maya shot brilliantly. Her groupings were tight. Her breathing controlled her adjustments precise. Rawlings watched her with an expression Elena couldn't quite read. After the drill, he approached Maya. Elena tensed, ready to intervene, but Rawlings didn't threaten, didn't intimidate. He just looked at her for a long moment. You've improved, Torres. Maya blinked. Thank you, Sergeant. Don't thank me. You did the work. He started to walk away, then stopped. Tomorrow's the qualifier. Whatever happens, shoot your best. He walked off. Maya turned to Elena, confusion evident. What was that? I don't know. But Elena had her suspicions. Rawlings was smart. He knew the walls were closing in, and he was trying to create distance, establish a record of fairness, something to point to when everything fell apart. It wouldn't work. But it told her something important. He was scared. The night before the finals, Elena found Maya at the chapel. The girl was sitting alone in the front pew, head bowed. Elena sat beside her. I didn't know you were religious. I'm not. Not really. Maya looked up. But my grandmother was. She used to say that before any big battle you should talk to God. Not to ask for help, but to make sure you were fighting for the right reasons. And are you? Maya was quiet for a moment. When I was 12, I watched a video of the first female Navy pilot landing on an aircraft carrier. Everyone said it was impossible, that women couldn't handle the stress, that we didn't belong in combat roles. She turned to Elena. I decided that day that I was going to prove them wrong. All of them. And now I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just trying to be good enough. For myself, for the women who came before me, for the ones who'll come after. She smiled slightly. Is that the right reason? Elena thought about Michael, about her daughter, about 23 years of fighting battles that no one ever saw. Yeah, she said, that's the right reason. They sat together in silence until the chapel bells rang midnight. Then they walked back to their barracks, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. The morning of the qualification finals dawned cold and clear. Elena was at the range by 0500, watching the staff set up targets and calibrate equipment. By 0600, candidates were arriving. Nervous energy filled the air. Maya appeared at 06115, face calm, movements deliberate. Ready? Elena asked. Ready. At 0700, Colonel Reeves took the podium for opening remarks. But before he could speak, a convoy of vehicles rolled through the main gate, 3 black SUVs, government plates. The lead vehicle stopped, and a man in navy dress whites stepped out. Admiral Chen. Reeves went pale. Chen walked to the podium, shook Reeves's hand with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, and turned to address the assembly. Good morning. I'm Admiral Chen SOCOM. I'm here to observe today's qualification finals and to introduce a modification to the evaluation protocol. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Chen continued. All instructor cadre will be required to demonstrate their own qualifications before evaluating candidates. This demonstration will be supervised by Master Chief Elena Mercer, who will serve as a lead evaluator for today's exercise. Every eye in the facility turned to Elena. She stepped forward, face impassive. Rawlings stood frozen at the edge of the formation. Additionally, Chen said, I want to announce that Master Chief Mercer will be assuming permanent oversight responsibility for special operations training facilities nationwide. Her first official action will be a comprehensive review of practices here at Camp Obsidian. He turned to Reeves. Colonel, I believe you have a qualification course to run. Reeves nodded stiffly. Chen stepped aside. The finals had begun, and Derek Rawlings was about to learn what happened when a sniper finally decided to pull the trigger. The first instructor stepped to the firing line at 0730. Staff Sergeant Morrison. Army. 15 years experience. Solid reputation. Elena stood behind him, clipboard in hand, stopwatch ready. Standard qualification sequence, she announced. 300 meters, 5 rounds, 60 seconds. Morrison settled into position. Breathed, fired, 4 hits, 1 edge. Passing score, Elena said. Next station. 500 meters. Morrison hit 3 of 5. Marginal, Elena noted. Proceed. 800 meters. 2 hits, 3 misses. Morrison stood face tight. That's a failing score at distance, Elena said. You're removed from evaluation duties for today's finals. Morrison's jaw dropped. Master Chief, I've been instructing here for next instructor. He walked away stunned. The other instructors watched. Some shifted nervously. Others tried to look confident. Rawlings stood at the back, arms crossed, face unreadable. One by one, Elena ran them through. Corporal Webb stepped up at 0815. His hands were shaking before he even touched the rifle. 300 meters. 3 hits. 2 misses. Failing, Elena said. Step aside." "That scope was off," Webb protested. "The scope was calibrated this morning. I watched it happen." "This is bullshit." "That's enough, Corporal." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "Is there a problem here?" Webb looked at the Admiral, looked at Elena, looked at Rawlings for support. Rawlings said nothing. Webb walked away. By a 900, 6 of 12 instructors had failed qualification. The candidates watched in stunned silence. They'd never seen anything like this. Neither had anyone else. Specialist Oates was next, the young man who had kicked Elena's teeth out, who had followed Rawlings' every order, who had cornered Maya in the equipment shed. He walked to the firing line with forced confidence. Elena looked at him. He couldn't meet her eyes. "Standard sequence," she said. "Begin." 300 meters. Oates fired. 5 hits. "Passing," Elena said. 500 meters. 4 hits. "Passing." 800 meters. Oates settled in, took his time, fired 5 rounds, 3 hits, 2 misses. "Passing." Barely. Oates exhaled. "Proceed to advanced qualification," Elena said. His relief was visible. 1200 meters. Variable wind. Partial obstruction. The color drained from his face. "That's not standard protocol." "It is today." Oates looked at Rawlings again. Still nothing. He returned to position. The target was barely visible at that range. Wind flags showed shifting conditions. Oates fired. Miss. Fired again. Miss. 3rd shot. 4th shot. 5th shot. All misses. He stood defeat written across his face. "Failing score," Elena said. "Removed from evaluation duties." Oates walked away without protest. Elena turned to face the remaining instructors. "Sergeant First Class Rawlings, you're next." The silence that followed was absolute. Rawlings walked to the firing line like a man approaching his execution. Every eye in the facility tracked his movement. He picked up the rifle, checked the chamber, settled into position. Elena stood behind him close enough to see the tension in his shoulders. "Standard sequence," she said. "Begin when ready." 300 meters. Rawlings fired. 5 perfect hits. Passing. 500 meters. 5 hits. Dead center, every one. Passing. 800 meters. Rawlings took his time, controlled his breathing. Fired 5 rounds. 4 hits. 1 edge. Passing. He stood allowing himself a small smile. "Advanced qualification," Elena said. 1200 meters. Rawlings returned to position. He'd made this shot 1,000 times, maybe 10,000. He fired. Hit. The crowd murmured. Elena nodded. "Continue to 1800 meters." Rawlings blinked. "That's beyond standard certification range." "You're an instructor at an elite sniper facility. Standard doesn't apply." He stared at her. "Unless you'd like to withdraw from evaluation duties voluntarily." Rawlings' jaw tightened. He returned to position. 1800 meters. Wind gusting. Target barely a speck. He adjusted. Calculated. Fired. Miss. By 6 inches. "Failing at advanced distance," Elena said. "However your core qualification stands. You may observe today's candidate evaluations, but you will not serve and lead evaluator." "Then who will—" Elena met his eyes. "I will." Rawlings' face went through several emotions. Anger, humiliation, calculation. Then something else, something that looked almost like respect. "Understood, Master Chief." He stepped aside. Elena turned to address the assembly. "Candidate qualification begins in 30 minutes. All participants report to designated stations." The crowd dispersed. Admiral Chen appeared at Elena's shoulder. "Nicely done." It's not over. No, but you've got him off balance. That's half the battle. Elena watched Rawlings walk toward the instructor tent. The other half is making sure he can't recover. Maya Torres was scheduled for the third qualification slot. Elena watched her warm up. The girl's movements were precise, economical. No wasted energy, no nervous habits. She'd learned well. The first two candidates went through. Both passed. Neither was remarkable. Then Maya stepped to the line. Rawlings stood at the edge of the evaluation area watching. His presence was deliberate, a reminder of everything he'd put her through. Maya didn't look at him. Private First Class Torres, Elena announced. Standard qualification sequence. Begin when ready. 300 meters. Maya settled in. Breathed. Fired. 5 hits. Perfect center mass. Excellent, Elena said. 500 meters. 5 hits. Tighter grouping than the first. Excellent. 800 meters. Maya adjusted for wind. Took her time. Fired 5 rounds. 5 hits. All within a 3-inch circle. Elena looked at the target through her spotting scope. Outstanding. Maya stood face neutral, but Elena could see the relief in her eyes. Advanced qualification? Maya nodded. 1,200 meters. Variable conditions. Maya returned to position. This was the shot that separated good from great. The shot that most instructors couldn't make. The shot that would prove everything. She fired. Hit. Center mass. Elena didn't smile, but she wanted to. Continue to 1,800 meters. Maya adjusted, calculated. The wind shifted. She waited, waited, waited. Fired. Hit. The crowd erupted. Maya stood, and for the first time, she allowed herself to smile. Elena walked to her. Outstanding performance, Private Torres. You've not only qualified, but exceeded the standard achieved by most instructors at this facility. Maya's eyes glistened. Thank you, Master Chief. Don't thank me. You did the work. She turned to address the assembly. Private First Class Torres has achieved the highest qualification score recorded at Camp Obsidian in 3 years. She paused. The previous record holder was Private First Class Rebecca Okonkwo. The name hung in the air. Rawlings went pale. Elena continued. Private Okonkwo was washed out of this program despite her exceptional performance. She later attempted to take her own life due to the treatment she received here. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Today, we begin correcting that wrong. Admiral Chen stepped forward. I'd like to add something to the record. Everyone turned. Private Okonkwo's discharge has been reviewed and overturned. She has been invited to return to sniper qualification training if she chooses. Her medical records have been expunged of all negative findings, and a formal apology has been issued by the United States Army. The crowd was silent. Chen turned to Rawlings. Sergeant First Class Rawlings, you are hereby relieved of all training responsibilities pending a formal investigation into your conduct at this facility. Chen Rawlings didn't move. Additionally, you are ordered to report to the administrative building immediately for a preliminary hearing on charges including assault, falsification of training records, harassment, and conduct unbecoming. Still, Rawlings stood frozen. Master Chief Mercer will be providing testimony at that hearing. Elena stepped forward. Sergeant Rawlings, you have the right to legal representation. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Rawlings finally found his voice. This is a setup. No, Sergeant. This is accountability. 2 MPs appeared at the edge of the crowd. You can walk out of here with dignity, Elena said quietly. Or you can be carried. Your choice. Rawlings looked at her. really looked at her for the first time. You planned this from the beginning. The coffee, the mess hall, all of it. I didn't plan to get my teeth kicked out, but I adapted. Why go through all of this? You could have just pulled rank from day one. Elena stepped closer, close enough that only he could hear. Because I needed you to show me who you really are. And you did. In front of witnesses. On camera. With documented evidence. She paused. My husband used to say that a sniper's greatest weapon isn't the rifle. It's patience, the willingness to wait for the perfect shot. Rawlings' eyes widened. You waited. I waited. And now? Elena looked at the MPs approaching. Now I pull the trigger. Rawlings straightened his uniform, squared his shoulders. I underestimated you, Master Chief. Yes, you did. He walked toward the MPs without resistance. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Derek Rawlings was escorted from the training facility he'd controlled for 3 years. At the edge of the crowd, Maya Torres stood with tears streaming down her face. Elena caught her eye and nodded once. The girl nodded back. Justice wasn't complete. Not yet. But it had begun. The hearing convened at 1400 in the administrative building's conference room. Elena sat at one end of the table. Rawlings sat at the other, flanked by a JAG lawyer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Admiral Chen presided. Colonel Reeves sat in the corner, face gray, awaiting his own reckoning. Master Chief Mercer, Chen began. Please present your findings. Elena opened her folder. Over the past 10 days, I have conducted a comprehensive investigation into training practices at Camp Obsidian. I have documented 17 instances of harassment, 12 cases of falsified training records, 3 cases of physical assault, and 1 case that contributed directly to an attempted suicide. She slid photographs across the table. These are images of my injuries sustained on day 3 of my investigation. 2 teeth knocked out, 4 stitches in my lip. Documented by base medical personnel within 1 hour of the incident. Rawlings' lawyer leaned forward. My client was not the one who... Your client gave the order. Your client created the environment. Your client laughed while I bled on the floor. She slid another document across. This is an audio recording obtained from a confidential source. In it, Sergeant Rawlings and Colonel Reeves discuss how to handle a candidate who filed a harassment complaint. The candidate in question, Rebecca Okonkwo, attempted suicide 2 weeks later. She pressed play. Rawlings's voice filled the room. She's going to talk. Reeves's voice responded. Then make sure she doesn't. How far do you want me to go? As far as necessary. The recording ended. Reeves looked like he might vomit. Admiral Chen's face was stone. Do you have anything to say, Sergeant Rawlings? Rawlings sat motionless for a long moment. Then he spoke. I want to tell you something, Master Chief. Something I've never told anyone. His lawyer grabbed his arm. Derek, don't. My brother, Thomas. He went through this program 4 years ago. Best shooter in his class. Better than me. Better than anyone. Rawlings' voice cracked. They broke him. The instructors. The system. They decided he didn't fit their image of what a sniper should be, so they destroyed him. Falsified his records. Rigged his evaluations. Drove him to a breakdown. He looked at Reeves. You signed off on it, Colonel. You told me it was for his own good. That he wasn't mentally fit. That washing him out was the merciful option. Reeves said nothing. I believed you. And when I got assigned here when I became an instructor, I told myself I was going to make sure no one ever went through what Thomas went through. Rawlings laughed bitterly. Instead, I became exactly what destroyed him. He turned to Elena. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to understand it didn't start with hatred. It started with pain. And somewhere along the way, the pain turned into something else. Elena looked at him for a long moment. I understand pain, Sergeant. I lost my husband. I raised my daughter alone. I spent 23 years being told I didn't belong, that I couldn't do the job, that I should step aside and let the men handle it. She leaned forward. But I never, not once, took my pain and used it as a weapon against people who had done nothing to deserve it. That was your choice. Your failure. And no amount of trauma justifies what you did to Rebecca Okonkwo, what you tried to do to Maya Torres, what you did to every candidate who trusted you to make them better. Rawlings bowed his head. I know. Admiral Chen cleared his throat. Based on the evidence presented, I am recommending the following actions. Sergeant First Class Derek Rawlings will be reduced in rank to E4 and reassigned to administrative duties pending court-martial proceedings. Colonel Marcus Reeves will be relieved of command effective immediately and will face his own investigation. All training records at Camp Obsidian will be reviewed, and any candidate unjustly washed out will be offered reinstatement. He turned to Elena. Master Chief Mercer, you are to be commended for your thorough investigation and your personal courage. Your actions here have exposed a systemic failure that put countless service members at risk. Elena nodded. Thank you, Admiral. But I'd like to make one additional recommendation. Go ahead. Specialist Tyler Oates, the one who actually kicked me. I'd like to recommend counseling and rehabilitation rather than discharge. Everyone stared at her. He's young. He was following orders he shouldn't have followed. But when it mattered, when Rawlings was being escorted out, Oates looked relieved. Not angry, not defiant. Relieved. She paused. I think there's something worth saving there. Chen considered this. Recommendation noted. We'll take it under advisement. The hearing concluded. As Elena stood to leave, Rawlings called out, Master Chief. She turned. For what it's worth, you were right. About everything. And if I'd met you 10 years ago, maybe things would have been different. Elena looked at him. Maybe. But we don't get to rewrite the past, Sergeant. We only get to choose what we do next. She walked out. Behind her, Derek Rawlings sat alone, facing the consequences of everything he'd become. Outside, the Arizona sun was beginning to set. Maya Torres was waiting. Is it over? She asked. Elena looked back at the administrative building. The investigation is over. The trial hasn't started yet, but the hardest part, the part where we had to prove what was happening, that's done. Maya exhaled. What happens now? Now you finish your qualification. Graduate. Become the sniper you were always meant to be. And you, Elena smiled. I have a phone call to make, and then I think I'd like to teach, if anyone wants to learn. Maya's eyes lit up. I know someone who would. I know you do. They walked together toward the barracks as the sun painted the desert gold and red. Behind them, Camp Obsidian was already changing. It would never be the same again. Neither would they. Elena made the call at 2100. Sarah picked up on the second ring. Mom, it's done. Silence. Then, what do you mean done? The investigation, the hearing, everything I came here to do. Elena sat on the edge of her bed, suddenly exhausted. They're facing charges. Real charges. It's going to court-martial. Are you okay? Elena touched her lip. The stitches had come out yesterday, but the scar would be permanent. I'm okay. You don't sound okay. I'm tired, baby. Really tired. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Mom, I've been thinking. About what you said last time. About why you do what you do. And I think I finally understand. Not completely. Maybe I never will completely. But enough. Elena's throat tightened. I watched a documentary last week, Sarah continued. About women in special operations. They interviewed some of the first female SEALs. One of them mentioned you. Not by name, but I knew it was you. What did she say? She said there was a woman who came before them, who took hits so they wouldn't have to, who built the road they walked on. Sarah's voice cracked. She said that woman never got the recognition she deserved because she chose to work in the shadows. Elena closed her eyes. Mom, I'm proud of you. I don't say that enough. I never say it. But I'm proud of you. Sarah. And I want to see you. When you're done there, I want to actually see you. I'd like that. Promise me. I promise. They talked for another hour. About nothing. About everything. About the years they'd lost, and the years they might still have. When Elena finally hung up, she was crying. She couldn't remember the last time that had happened. The next morning brought unexpected visitors. Elena was finishing breakfast when Sergeant Major Cross appeared at her table. Mind if I sit? She gestured to the empty chair. Cross lowered himself slowly, favoring his bad leg. Heard about yesterday. The whole base is talking. I imagine they would be. Most of them are relieved. The ones who weren't part of Rawlings's crew anyway. They knew something was wrong. They just didn't know how to stop it. That's how it usually works. Cross nodded. I wanted to thank you, personally, for using those recordings, for not letting them disappear into some bureaucratic black hole. You took the real risk. 3 years of documentation. If Rawlings had found out, he didn't. Cross smiled slightly. Old maintenance workers are invisible, almost as invisible as consultants with reading glasses. Elena laughed. It hurt her lip, but she didn't care. What happens to you now? She asked. Retirement. Finally. My wife's been after me for years to hang it up. He paused. We've got a place in Montana, little cabin by a lake. I'm going to fish and read and forget about all this. You've earned it. So have you. Cross leaned forward. What about you? What comes next? Elena thought about the question. I don't know yet. Admiral Chen wants me to stay on. Permanent oversight position. Make sure this never happens again. But I'm 47 years old. I've been fighting my whole life. Maybe it's time to stop. Cross shook his head. You're not a fighter, Master Chief. You're a guardian. There's a difference. He stood. Fighters look for battles. Guardians protect the people who can't protect themselves. And there's always going to be someone who needs protecting. He extended his hand. Elena shook it. Thank you, Sergeant Major, for everything. Thank you for finishing what I couldn't. He walked away. Elena sat alone, thinking about guardians and fighters, and the difference between them. The graduation ceremony was scheduled for 1400. 12 candidates had qualified. Maya Torres was ranked first in her class. Elena stood at the edge of the assembly area watching the preparations. Chairs arranged in neat rows, a podium with the American flag, a table displaying the sniper tabs that would be pinned on new chests. Admiral Chen found her there. You should be up front. You made this happen. I'd rather watch from here. Camera shy, something like that. Chen stood beside her. I've read your full file, Master Chief, the classified one, the things you did that no one will ever know about. Then you know why I prefer the shadows. I do, but sometimes the shadows aren't enough. Sometimes people need to see the hero. I'm not a hero. Tell that to Maya Torres. Tell that to Rebecca Okonkwo. Tell that to every woman who's going to walk into a sniper program because you made it safe for them. Elena didn't respond. I'm not asking you to give speeches or pose for photographs, Chen continued. I'm asking you to let them see you. Just for today. Let them know that someone fought for them. Elena looked at the rows of chairs, the families arriving, the candidates in their dress uniforms. One day, she said finally, after that I go back to being invisible. Chen smiled. Fair enough. The ceremony began with the national anthem. Elena stood in the front row next to Admiral Chen and the surviving command staff. A new colonel had been flown in to manage the transition. Reeves was already in Washington facing his own investigation. One by one, the graduates were called forward. Elena watched them receive their tabs, watched them salute, watched their families beam with pride. When Maya's name was called, Elena felt something shift in her chest. The girl walked to the podium, tall, confident. Nothing like the frightened young woman who had warned Elena about Rawlings on that first day. Private First Class Maya Torres, the colonel announced. First in class, highest qualification score recorded at Camp Obsidian in 3 years. Applause erupted. Maya received her tab, saluted. Then, instead of returning to her seat, she turned to the microphone. Permission to speak, sir. The colonel looked surprised, glanced at Chen. Chen nodded. Granted. Maya faced the crowd. 2 weeks ago, I almost quit. I was ready to walk away from everything I'd worked for, because I thought there was no place for me here, because I'd been told over and over that I didn't belong. She paused. Then someone showed me different. Someone who had every reason to give up but never did. Someone who took a beating that should have broken her and turned it into a weapon for justice. Maya looked directly at Elena. Master Chief Mercer, I don't know how to thank you for what you did. Not just for me, but for every woman who will ever stand where I'm standing. You didn't just expose corruption. You proved that strength doesn't mean fighting back immediately. Sometimes it means waiting, watching, and striking when it matters most. She stepped back from the microphone. The crowd was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then another person. Then the entire assembly was on its feet. Elena stood motionless, overwhelmed. Chen leaned over. Still think you're not a hero? Elena didn't answer. She couldn't. The applause went on for a long time. After the ceremony, families mingled with graduates. Elena tried to slip away, but Maya caught her. Where do you think you're going? I don't do crowds. Neither do I. But there's someone I want you to meet. Maya led her to a woman standing at the edge of the assembly area. Mid-60s, gray hair, eyes that had seen too much. Master Chief Mercer, this is my grandmother, Rosa Torres. The woman extended her hand. Her grip was firm. So you're the one who saved my granddaughter. She saved herself. I just cleared the obstacles. Rosa studied her. Maya tells me you lost your husband. Military, Navy SEAL, killed in Afghanistan. My husband was Army, Vietnam, died there in '68. Rosa's eyes glistened. I know what it's like to raise a child alone, to carry the weight of a loss that never gets lighter. It doesn't get lighter, Elena agreed, but it gets easier to carry. Maya's father walked out when she was 3. I helped raise her, told her she could be anything she wanted. Rosa smiled. I never imagined she'd want to be this. Are you proud of her? Terrified and proud in equal measure. Rosa took Elena's hands. Thank you, for giving her a chance, for showing her what strength really looks like. Elena didn't trust her voice. Rosa squeezed her hands once, then let go. Come to dinner tonight, both of you. I make the best tamales in Arizona. Elena looked at Maya. You should come, Maya said. Grandma's tamales are legendary. I don't... Please. The word hung in the air. Elena thought about all the invitations she'd declined over the years, all the connections she'd avoided, all the walls she'd built. What time? Rosa beamed. 7 o'clock, Maya has the address. She walked away, and Elena realized she was looking forward to something for the first time in longer than she could remember. The dinner was everything Rosa promised, and more. The small house was filled with warmth and laughter and the smell of spices Elena couldn't identify. Maya's younger cousins ran through the rooms, chased by aunts who pretended to be annoyed, but weren't. Elena sat at the table surrounded by 3 generations of Torres women and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Belonging. "So," Rosa said, passing a plate of tamales, "Maya tells me you're the best sniper in the Navy." "I was. Once. These days I'm mostly paperwork and evaluations." "Don't believe her," Maya interjected. "I saw her shoot. She hit targets the instructors couldn't even see." "Is that so?" Rosa raised an eyebrow. "And those missing teeth. How did that happen?" Elena touched her lip. "I made someone angry." "Must have been very angry." "He was. He also underestimated me." Rosa nodded approvingly. "Good. Men who underestimate women deserve whatever comes to them." The table erupted in agreement. After dinner, Elena and Maya sat on the back porch while the family cleaned up inside. "Thank you for coming," Maya said. "It means a lot to my grandmother. To all of us." "Thank you for inviting me. I can't remember the last time I had a meal like that." "You should do it more often." "Maybe I will." They sat in comfortable silence. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "With you, I mean." "Admiral Chen wants me to stay on, build a permanent oversight program, make sure what happened here never happens anywhere else." "Are you going to do it?" Elena considered the question. "I think so, but I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to teach, not just evaluate. Actually teach," when she looked at Maya. "And I want you to be my first student." Maya stared at her. "Me? You've got the skills, the instincts, the determination. But there's more to being a sniper than hitting targets. There's the mental part, the patience, the ability to wait for the perfect moment." Elena smiled. "I can teach you that, if you're willing to learn." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I've been wanting that since the day I met you." "Then it's settled. Report to the training facility at 0500 tomorrow. Bring coffee." 0500. "Snipers don't sleep in private, Torres." Maya laughed. "Yes, Master Chief." Inside the house, Rosa watched them through the window. She didn't know what they were saying, but she recognized the look on her granddaughter's face. It was the look of someone who had found exactly where she belonged. The phone rang at 0300. Elena was awake instantly, old instincts kicking in. "Mercer." "Master Chief, this is Admiral Chen. I'm sorry to wake you." "What's wrong?" "It's Rawlings. He's escaped." Elena sat up. "What?" "He was being transported to the detention facility. Somewhere between Camp Obsidian and Phoenix, the convoy was ambushed. 2 MPs dead. Rawlings is gone." "Ambushed by who?" "We don't know yet, but we found something at the scene. A note, addressed to you." Elena's blood went cold. "What does it say?" Chen hesitated. "It says you thought you won, Ghost, but the game isn't over. See you soon." Silence. "Master Chief, are you there?" Elena was already moving, pulling on clothes, grabbing her weapon. "Where's Maya Torres? I don't—" "Find her, now. Get her to a secure location." "You think he'll go after her?" "I think he'll go after everyone I care about." Elena grabbed her keys. "And then he'll come for me." "What are you going to do?" Elena looked at Michael's photograph on the nightstand, at the rifle case in the corner, at the challenge coin she'd given Maya and gotten back. "I'm going to finish what I started." She hung up and walked out into the darkness. Somewhere out there, Derek Rawlings was hunting. But he'd forgotten one crucial thing. He wasn't the only predator in this desert. And Elena Mercer had never lost a target. The call came 20 minutes later. Elena was driving toward the Taurus house when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Hello, Ghost? Rawlings. Where are you? Close. Closer than you think. If you touch her, I'm not interested in your little protege. Not yet. His voice was calm. Too calm. I'm interested in finishing our conversation. The one we started in that mess hall. Then come find me. Oh, I will. But first I want you to understand something. There was movement on his end. Wind. He was outside. You took everything from me. My career, my reputation, my future. You think I'm going to let that stand? You took those things from yourself. I just held up the mirror. Is that what you tell yourself? It's the truth. Rawlings laughed. You know what I've learned about truth, Master Chief. It's whatever the survivor says it is. His voice hardened. And tonight, I'm going to survive. Where? The range, training facility 4, 1 hour. Why there? Because that's where you humiliated me. That's where you took everything. He paused. That's where I'm going to take it back. The line went dead. Elena pulled over. She should call Chen. Call for backup. Follow protocol. But Rawlings wasn't interested in protocol. He was interested in revenge. And if she showed up with an army, he'd disappear into the desert and come back later. When she wasn't ready. When Maya wasn't protected. This had to end tonight. She turned the car toward Camp Obsidian. The training facility was dark when she arrived. Elena left her car at the gate and walked the rest of the way, rifle case in hand. The familiar layout felt different in darkness. Shadows where there shouldn't be shadows. Silence where there should have been activity. She moved slowly, carefully, every sense alert. Training Facility 4, the long-range qualification course, where she'd stripped Rawlings of his authority, where Maya had proven herself, where this would end. She reached the edge of the facility and stopped. I know you're there, Rawlings called from somewhere ahead. I can hear you breathing. Elena didn't respond. You know what the difference is between us, Ghost? You fight for principles, for ideals, for people you'll never meet. His voice echoed. I fight for myself, and that makes me more dangerous. That makes you desperate. Same thing. Movement, to her left. Elena shifted position. You could have walked away, she said. After the hearing. You could have taken the demotion, served your time, started over. Started over. As what, a clerk? A supply officer? Some paper pusher who used to matter? Rawlings laughed bitterly. You don't understand. This was all I had, all I was ever going to be, and you destroyed it. You destroyed it yourself. Keep telling yourself that. More movement. Closer now. Elena opened her rifle case, assembled the weapon by feel. 10 seconds. A personal record. Here's what's going to happen, Rawlings continued. We're going to settle this. Just you and me. Winner walks away. And the loser doesn't. Elena finished assembling her rifle. I'm not going to kill you, Rawlings. Then you're going to die. I'm going to stop you. There's a difference. Silence. Then Rawlings stepped out of the shadows 50 yards away, rifle raised. Let's find out. Elena moved before his finger touched the trigger. She dropped low, rolled left, came up behind a concrete barrier. Rawlings's shot cracked through the air where her head had been. Fast, he called out. Faster than I expected. Elena didn't respond. She was already repositioning, moving through the facility like water through cracks. 23 years of combat had taught her one thing above all others. The shooter who talks is the shooter who dies. She circled wide, keeping barriers between them. Rawlings fired again. The round sparked off metal 3 feet from her position. You can't hide forever, Ghost. This isn't one of your operations. There's no extraction team. No backup. Just you and me. Elena reached her first designated position. An elevated platform with clear sight lines across the range. She raised her rifle. Scanned. Nothing. Rawlings had moved too. You know what I keep thinking about? His voice came from a different direction now. East. Maybe southeast. That first day, when you walked into the mess hall with your reading glasses and your nervous little smile, I actually felt sorry for you. Elena tracked the sound, calculated distance. I thought, here's another civilian who doesn't know what she's getting into. Another bureaucrat who will wash out in a week. There. Movement behind the target stands. Elena adjusted her scope. Then you spilled that coffee on me and I knew. Something in your eyes. Something that didn't match the rest of you. Rawlings laughed. I should have trusted my instincts. Elena had the shot. 80 meters. Clear line. She could end this now, but Rawlings wasn't alone. A second figure moved in her peripheral vision. Left flank. 40 meters. Webb. The corporal she'd failed at qualification, the one who'd helped kick her teeth out. That's right, Rawlings said. Did you think I came alone? Elena's mind raced. 2 targets, different positions. No clear shot on both. Webb's not happy with how things turned out either. Seems you cost him his career too. Webb was circling, trying to get behind her. Elena had maybe 30 seconds before she lost her advantage. She made her choice. 1 shot. Webb's rifle. The weapon flew from his hands. He screamed more from shock than pain. Elena was already moving. Rawlings fired at her previous position. Missed. She reached new cover. Reset. That was a warning, she called out. The next one won't be. You're out of warnings, Ghost. Another shot. Closer this time. He was learning her patterns. Elena forced herself to breathe, to think. Rawlings was good, better than she'd given him credit for. And he was angry, which made him unpredictable. But anger also made him sloppy. She just had to wait for the mistake. You want to know something funny? Rawlings was moving again, circling. I used to admire people like you, the ones who made it through, the ones who proved everyone wrong. Elena tracked his voice. Southwest now. My brother used to talk about you, before they broke him. He said you were proof that the system could change, that things could get better. Rawlings' voice cracked. He was wrong. The system doesn't change. It just finds new ways to destroy people. The system didn't destroy your brother, Elena said. Men like you did. Men like me. Men who couldn't handle being outperformed, who couldn't accept that someone different might be better. Elena shifted position. You became exactly what you hated. I became what I had to be. You became a coward who beats up women to feel powerful. Silence. Then Rawlings stepped into the open. Say that again. Elena rose from cover. Rifle raised. You're a coward, Derek. You always were. All the strength, all the training, all the authority, and you used it to terrorize people who couldn't fight back. I could have been great. You were nothing. Rawlings raised his rifle. Elena didn't flinch. Go ahead. Pull the trigger. Prove me right. His finger tightened. Because that's what cowards do. They take the easy shot. They don't wait for the moment that matters. They just react. Rawlings' hand was shaking. You want to know the difference between us? Really know. Elena stepped closer. I could have destroyed you the day you kicked my teeth out. One move. 3 seconds. You and your friends would have been on the ground before anyone knew what happened. Then why didn't you? Because killing you wasn't the mission. The mission was exposing the rot, protecting the candidates, making sure no one else went through what Rebecca went through. So noble. So effective. Elena lowered her rifle slightly. You're finished, Derek. Whether you pull that trigger or not, whether I'm alive or dead, the investigation is complete. The evidence is sealed. Admiral Chen has everything. Rawlings's face contorted. You're lying. I'm a sniper. We don't waste ammunition on lies. His rifle wavered. Killing me doesn't change anything. It just adds murder to your list of charges. It just proves that everything I said about you was true. And if I let you live, then maybe somewhere down the line you get a chance to be something other than this. Elena lowered her rifle completely. Your brother got a second chance. He's alive. He's getting help. That's more than most people get. Rawlings stared at her. How do you know about Thomas? Because I made some calls. Because I wanted to understand why you became what you are. Elena met his eyes. He doesn't blame you, Derek. He blames the system. The same system you were supposed to fix. Something broke in Rawlings' face. I tried. I know, and you failed. But failing doesn't have to be the end. His rifle dropped an inch. What do you want from me? I want you to put down the weapon. I want you to face what you did. I want you to stop running. And if I can't, then I'll stop you. But I'd rather not. The moment stretched. Elena saw the exact instant Rawlings made his decision. The shoulders dropping, the jaw unclenching, the fight going out of him like air from a punctured tire. He lowered his rifle. It's over, he said. It's over. He set the weapon on the ground and raised his hands. Behind Elena, the sound of vehicles. Lights sweeping across the facility. The cavalry finally arriving. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the darkness. Master Chief status. Secure, Elena called back. Both suspects in custody. MPs swarmed the facility. Rawlings was cuffed without resistance. Webb, nursing his injured hand, was loaded into a separate vehicle. Chen reached Elena's position. You could have called for backup. Didn't have time. Bullshit. You wanted to end this yourself. Elena didn't deny it. Is it over now? Chen asked. Elena looked at Rawlings being led away. At Webb. At the facility where everything had happened. Yeah, she said. It's over. The sun was rising when Elena returned to the Torres house. Maya was waiting on the porch. They told me what happened. Why didn't you call me? You needed to be safe. I needed to help. You did help. By staying alive. By being something worth protecting. Maya's jaw tightened. I'm not a child, Elena. I'm a trained sniper. You could have gotten killed, and everything I did would have meant nothing. The words hit harder than Maya expected. You did all this. For me. For you. For Rebecca. For every woman who's going to walk into a program like this and wonder if she belongs. Elena sat on the porch steps. I've spent my whole life fighting battles alone, taking hits so other people wouldn't have to. And somewhere along the way I forgot that the point wasn't to suffer. The point was to make things better. Maya sat beside her. Did you make things better? Elena thought about Rawlings in custody. About Reeves facing investigation. About the reforms already being implemented across special operations training. I think so. I hope so. Then it was worth it. Ask me again in 10 years. When you're an instructor. When you're the one protecting the next generation. Maya smiled. I'll hold you to that. They sat together watching the sun climb over the desert. Elena, yeah, thank you for everything. Don't thank me yet. Training starts tomorrow, 0500. I remember. And Maya, yeah, bring extra coffee. We're going to need it. 3 months later, Elena stood in a conference room in Washington, D.C. Admiral Chen was presenting the final report on Camp Obsidian to a joint committee of military leaders and congressional representatives. As a result of Master Chief Mercer's investigation, 17 cases of harassment and assault have been prosecuted. 12 candidates have been reinstated to training programs, and comprehensive reforms have been implemented across all special operations training facilities. He clicked to the next slide. Perhaps most importantly, we have established a permanent oversight office led by Master Chief Mercer to ensure that these abuses never happen again. Applause. Elena stood when Chen gestured to her. Master Chief, would you like to say a few words? She hadn't planned to speak. Public wasn't her arena. But something made her step to the podium. When I arrived at Camp Obsidian, I was underestimated, dismissed, assaulted within my first week. She touched her lip where the scar still showed. The men who did this thought I was weak. They thought that because I was older, because I was quiet, because I didn't look the way they expected a warrior to look, I was no threat. She paused. They were wrong. The room was silent. But this isn't about me. It's about the young women and men who enter military service every day, trusting that they'll be trained, fairly evaluated honestly, and protected from those who abuse their authority. She looked at the committee members. That trust was broken at Camp Obsidian. It's been broken at other facilities. And it will continue to be broken unless we commit, truly commit to accountability at every level. She straightened. I'm not going to stand here and tell you the problem is solved. It isn't. But today, because of the actions we've taken, there are candidates in training who know that someone is watching. Someone is listening. Someone will act when things go wrong. She thought of Maya, of Rebecca, of all the faces she'd never see. That's not enough, but it's a start. And I'm going to spend whatever time I have left making sure we keep moving forward. She stepped back from the podium. The applause was longer this time. Chen leaned over as she sat down. Nice speech. I hate speeches. I know. That's why it worked. The meeting concluded with formal approval of Elena's oversight office. Budget allocated. Staff authorized. Full authority granted. As people filed out, a young woman in navy dress whites approached Elena. Master Chief Mercer? Yes. I'm Ensign Jennifer Park. I'm starting sniper qualification training next month. She hesitated. I wanted to meet you, to thank you, for making it possible. Elena studied her. Young, determined, terrified and hiding it well. Are you ready? I think so. You think so? I know so. Park straightened. I've wanted this my whole life, and now because of what you did, I have a real chance. Elena smiled. Then don't waste it, Ensign. Train hard. Trust yourself. And remember the people who doubt you are giving you a gift. They're telling you exactly what you need to prove wrong. Park nodded. Yes, Master Chief. She walked away, and Elena felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. 6 months later, Elena made the drive to Montana. Sergeant Major Cross's cabin was exactly as he'd described it. Small, quiet, a lake that reflected the mountains like a mirror. Cross was on the porch when she arrived, a fishing rod in one hand and a beer in the other. You're late. Traffic. In Montana. I took the scenic route. He laughed and handed her a beer. They sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the water. How's retirement? Elena asked. Boring. Perfect. Everything I never knew I needed. Cross took a long drink. How's the oversight office? Exhausting. Frustrating. Worth it. Still teaching. When I can. Maya's almost ready for her own command. 2 more months. You're proud of her? I am. Cross nodded. Your husband would be too. Of both of you. Elena's throat tightened. I think about him sometimes. What he'd say about all this. What do you think he'd say? He'd say I took too long. That I should have moved faster. Been more aggressive. Sounds like him. Then he'd hug me and tell me I did good. Elena smiled. That was Michael. Always pushing. Always loving. Never letting me settle for less than my best. You gave him a good memorial. What you did at Camp Obsidian. That's a legacy. Elena looked at the lake, at the mountains, at the peaceful world she'd fought so hard to protect. The legacy isn't mine. It's theirs. Maya, Rebecca, Jennifer Park, all the women who are going to serve because we made it possible. Still, you started it. Someone had to. They sat in comfortable silence until the stars came out. Stay for dinner, Cross said. My wife makes the worst pot roast you've ever tasted, and she'll never forgive me if you leave without trying it. Elena laughed. I'd like that. She stayed for 3 days. Fished, talked, remembered. And when she finally drove away, she felt lighter than she had in years. The graduation ceremony at Camp Obsidian was standing room only. Elena stood at the front of the assembly watching the newest class of snipers receive their tabs. Maya Torres, now Staff Sergeant Torres, stood beside her, straight-backed and proud. You ready? Elena asked quietly. For what? To take over. This class is yours to train next cycle. Maya's eyes widened. You're serious? Admiral Chen approved it this morning. You've earned it. Maya was quiet for a moment. What about you? I'm not going anywhere, but it's time for the next generation to lead, and you're the best of that generation. Maya blinked back tears. I won't let you down. You couldn't if you tried. The ceremony concluded with the national anthem. As the crowd dispersed, a young woman approached Elena. Dark hair, determined eyes. Rebecca Okonkwo. Elena hadn't seen her since the investigation, hadn't known if she'd ever return. Master Chief? Rebecca. I wanted you to know. I'm coming back. Next training cycle. I'm going to finish what I started. Elena's heart swelled. Are you sure, after everything, because of everything? Rebecca straightened. You showed me that the system can change, that it's worth fighting for. I'm not going to let what happened define me. I'm going to let what I do next define me. Elena extended her hand. Rebecca shook it. Welcome back, Private. We'll be waiting. Rebecca walked away, and Elena watched her go. Maya appeared at her shoulder. Is that? Yes. She looks strong. She is strong. She always was. She just forgot for a while. Maya nodded. Like all of us. Elena looked at her former student, at the woman she'd become, at the leader she was becoming. No, Elena said. Not like all of us. Better than all of us. She turned to face the empty training facility, the place where everything had changed. Ready for tomorrow? Ready, Maya said. Then let's go. We've got work to do. They walked together toward the headquarters building, 2 generations of warriors united by purpose. Behind them, the sun set over Camp Obsidian. But Elena Mercer wasn't looking at the past. She was looking at the future. And for the first time in 23 years, she knew exactly what she was fighting for. 1 year later, Elena sat alone at Michael's grave. Arlington National Cemetery was quiet in the early morning. Just her and the rows of white headstones stretching toward the horizon. "Hey, baby," she said softly. "It's been a while." She placed a single flower at the base of his marker. "I finished it. The mission. The one I didn't know I was on." She smiled. "You would have hated how long it took. You always were impatient." A breeze rustled the leaves. "Maya's running her own program now. Rebecca's back in training. There are more women in special operations than ever before." Elena touched the cold stone. "And I'm finally learning how to live instead of just survive." She was quiet for a moment. "Sarah's pregnant. Can you believe it? I'm going to be a grandmother. She wants to name the baby Michael if it's a boy." Her voice cracked. "She says she wants him to know about his grandfather, the hero who died serving his country." Tears ran down her face. "But I'm going to tell him about you too. The real you. The man who made me laugh. The man who challenged me to be better. The man who loved me even when I was impossible to love." She stood. "I have to go, but I'll be back, I promise." She touched the headstone one last time. "I love you, Michael, always." She walked away, leaving the flower behind. But she wasn't walking into darkness anymore. She was walking into light. They called her a brat. They kicked out her teeth. They thought they could break her with violence and intimidation. But Elena Mercer was a SEAL sniper. She didn't break. She didn't bend. She didn't give up. She waited. She watched. And when the moment came, she took the shot that changed everything. Not for glory, not for revenge, for every woman who would come after her, for every candidate who deserved a fair chance, for every warrior who was told they didn't belong. That's what heroes do. Not the loud ones, not the obvious ones, the quiet ones, the patient ones, the ones who understand that true strength isn't about fighting back immediately. It's about knowing when to wait, when to watch, and when to strike so the blow lands exactly where it needs to. Elena Mercer was a ghost, a guardian, a legend. And her story wasn't over. It was just beginning. Would you have waited like she did, or fought back immediately? What would you have done if someone kicked out your teeth and laughed about it? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, tap the bell, and share this story with someone who still thinks silence means weakness. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the quiet one in the corner with the reading glasses. The one everyone underestimated. The one who was already watching.